The Borderlands franchise is known for one thing above all else: a ridiculous number of fun weapons. And with that comes one of the most iconic parts of the series that not many people think about: the weapon manufacturers. Ever since Borderlands 4 started to hit the waves on the internet, fans have been wondering which manufacturers are coming back and what new ones are joining the loot pool. Well, thanks to the recent playtest, we now know all 8 confirmed weapon manufacturers in the game. So today I'm breaking them down for you one by one, starting off with the returning manufacturers from previous Borderlands games. So like I said, there are a total of 8 manufacturers that are confirmed as of right now. There may be a hidden one out there, but it seems like we know all 8. 5 of which are returning manufacturers from previous Borderlands games, so let's go over which manufacturers will be making their return in Borderlands 4. Now, let's start out with a fan favorite and a manufacturer that's been in every single Borderlands game. You know I'm talking about Jakobs. Now, not much new is happening with Jakobs. For some odd reason, Gearbox refuses to change anything with Jakobs, and I mean, I guess rightfully so. They're basically good in every single Borderlands game, but Jakobs are known for having high critical damage. You could shoot them as fast as you could pull the trigger, and a mechanic that's carrying over from Borderlands 3. The bullets will ricochet from enemy to enemy, again, just like they did in Borderlands 3, so a lot of fun builds are going to incorporate that, I guarantee it, just like they did in the previous Borderlands games. But no surprise here, everyone loves Jakobs. Again, Gearbox isn't really changing any of the mechanics. It'll be fun to see what Jakobs shotguns will be able to do in Borderlands 4, and remember, if it took you more than one bullet, you weren't using a Jakobs. Up next, we have another weapon manufacturer that's been in every single Borderlands game: Maliwan. This is probably my favorite weapon manufacturer just because of all of the elemental damage that these bad boys can dish out, and thankfully that's no different in Borderlands 4. These weapons will specialize in high damage over time due to things like the fire damage, and again, some people are going to be upset about this change. I personally really like this change. A nice change from Borderlands 3. Maliwan weapons will no longer have the weapon charge mechanic, which I wasn't a huge fan of. I know a lot of people really loved, but hopefully we could get back to like more Borderlands 2-esque Maliwan weapons. I just kind of prefer that over the Borderlands 3 ones, but to each his own. So Maliwan, not really much is changing with them. They're still going to be known for high elemental damage. Their SMGs are probably going to be some of the best weapons in the game, especially at launch before they add a bunch of DLC weapons, and they're no longer going to have the charge mechanic that they had in Borderlands 3, so this is actually one that's getting a somewhat big change. Vladof is the next weapon manufacturer that's making its return in Borderlands 4, and thankfully not much is changing from past Borderlands games either. Now, Vladof is still going to be known for the high fire rate, the high magazine size, which is perfect because in Borderlands 3 they were known to deal some serious damage, and thankfully, again, Vladof is keeping the same mechanic from Borderlands 3 of having the underbarrel weapon or underbarrel attachments like the flamethrower, the grenade launcher, or in Borderlands 3, most probably the best one was the bipod. Again, these weapons had some seriously high damage in Borderlands 3, so hopefully we could see that return in Borderlands 4, but Vladof making another return. Who knows if the Infinity Pistol or if some other high-end, well-known Vladof weapons will be making a return as a legendary. It seems like Borderlands 4 is going to have a lot of fan service from Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3. I think Gearbox knows at this point, hopefully, what the people want to see in terms of weapon manufacturers, because a lot of mechanics are either staying the same, like with the Jakobs, or a lot of mechanics are getting changed, like with the Maliwan charge mechanic getting rid of and everything like that. And Vladof, it seems like they're going the Jakobs route, and they're wanting to kind of keep it the way that it was in Borderlands 3, because I think that it was probably the best version of Vladof that we've seen, so hopefully they could just make it slightly better in this one. Tediore, another fan favorite, is making its return, and thankfully, just like the Vladof, not much is changing with them from past Borderlands games either. When you reload either a full magazine or a empty magazine, you will throw your Tediore weapon instead of just normally reloading, which it can come in all different types. Now, just like in Borderlands 3, Tediore weapons still have a bunch of different thrown when reloaded effects. attacks. You will still have the obvious straight-up physical damage like you did in Borderlands 2, most famously. If you toss it and hit an enemy, it'll do some damage, but just like in Borderlands 3, some Tediore weapons that are thrown could turn into turrets after being reloaded, or they could turn into 4 homing MIRV grenades, or, again, pretty popular in Borderlands 3, it caused a bunch of stuff in the trailer, it caused a bunch of people to freak out in the trailer, a gun. If you throw a Tediore weapon, it has a chance to throw legs and obviously chase down enemies if it has that one special effect like in Borderlands 3. So who knows if that's going to be across all Tediore weapons, or if it can only spawn on a couple of Tediore weapons like legendaries or unique ones. But we do know that the walking gun is back in Borderlands 4, 100% confirmed. Tediore has always been really good. I feel like it's kind of been underutilized in a lot of Borderlands games before in the past, so hopefully they could actually make this weapon shine a little bit more, unlike they did in Borderlands 2, in my opinion, at least. That it was just one of the more underwhelming ones throughout Borderlands history, in my opinion. Let me know if that if that opinion differs from yours in the comments below. The final weapon manufacturer that's making a return from past Borderlands games is Torgue, everyone's favorite explosive-based weapon company. And just like in past Borderlands games, Torgues will be known for having high explosive damage weapons. And again, just like in Borderlands 3, Torgue weapons will have a alt firing mode that will shoot sticky bombs that explode and deal massive damage when reloaded, which can be broken. So hopefully they make it just as powerful in Borderlands 4, because it was so much fun in Borderlands 3. But again, I think Borderlands 3 had the best version of Torgue. I think it probably was the most useful, because in Borderlands 2, I mean, we had the Herald, don't get me wrong, obviously probably the best weapon in the game franchise's history, but Torgue overall as a weapon company was most widely used, or could be most widely used in Borderlands 3, I feel like. So that's kind of what they're trying to do with a bunch of the returning ones. They're trying to just keep it as the best version of themselves. Like I said earlier, Jakobs not getting many changes. Maliwan, they're changing one thing, and they're getting rid of the charge mechanic, which I think a lot of people will be happy about. I know personally I am. Vladof, again, not really getting many changes, keeping the high fire rate, high magazine size, and also the underbarrel mechanic from Borderlands 3. Tediore, literally no changes. It's going to be the same exact thing, same exact alt firing, and you can also just throw it and it can turn into a different type of weapon, or it could turn into a MIRV, or it could just blow up on impact. And then Torgue, again, nothing is changing from Borderlands 3. I think all of these returning manufacturers should be amazing. The one that I'm most excited for is Maliwan. I can't wait to see how they handle the damage over time scaling. But now we got to talk about the remaining 3 weapon manufacturers, which will be new weapon manufacturers to the history of Borderlands. Now that we know which fan-favorite weapon manufacturers will be making their long-awaited returns in Borderlands 4, let's change focus and talk about the 3 new manufacturers making their debut in Borderlands 4. And most of them, out of the 3 here, 2 of them are tied to factions in the game that we know of so far. If you don't know the story of Borderlands 4, just to give it a little gist, it's basically just a civil war. You have the Order faction who is in charge, and the Rippers faction who rips away from the Order, and they were used as, I think, a slave race, or they were created by the Order to, I don't know, tend to stuff on the planet. I'm sure we will know more about the story when we actually get our hands on the game here, but all you should know, or all you should care about, is that the Order has their own set of weapons, and the Rippers have their own set of weapons also. Up first, for the new weapon manufacturers, I wanted to talk about the Order weapons, which, as I mentioned, will be used by the Order faction, or at least will be created by the Order faction in Borderlands 4, and they will be known for having high damage, but unfortunately the con of this is you will have to charge your shot before firing. Now, this could be really nice, or this could be really bad. One of the two. I think they probably can make this nice. However, I think most of them will not be that great. It could be like a railgun thing from the pre-sequel, or it could be some weapons from Borderlands 1 that we're going to talk about in a second. But the alt firing mode is also using a charge up mechanic, but it fires rockets or laser beams hitting multiple mobs instead of the normal charge shot, which is meant to hit and destroy one target at a time like a railgun. And even though this whole entire weapon manufacturer is new, they seem to have a few mechanics from old weapon manufacturers, like I said. No surprise here, but these weapons are super similar to the Iridian weapons from Borderlands 1, just like I mentioned before, but hopefully a lot more practical to use, like the railguns from the pre-sequel. But again, this would make sense considering that the Order has some connection to the Iridians. We will have to find more about that when we actually get our hands on Borderlands 4. I haven't seen too much about the story, and I haven't dived in too much. I kind of just wanted to go over the weapons before I took a peek at anything else, and I didn't want too much spoiled for me, so I'm not going to spoil too much for you in this video either. But the Order has their own weapon manufacturer, called the Order, and they basically just are what seems to be a different version of Iridian weapons from Borderlands 1, but I don't know. I didn't get to play the game. From the footage, that's what it seems like, though. Now, I also mentioned the Rippers being a faction and having their own manufacturer. So we have the Ripper manufacturer, which again is used by the Rippers, which is the second main faction in Borderlands 4. They're the ones fighting against the Order, like I previously said, but who knows, they may be the bad guys all along. But they will be known for firing as long as you could hold the trigger or until the weapon overheats. Again, a similar mechanic that's been in other Borderlands games, but they will at first shoot pretty slow, then after a few seconds of holding the trigger, it will fire at a full speed, dealing maximum DPS, again, just like other weapons in the Borderlands franchise. And of course, it will also have an alt firing mode, which is super similar to the other faction, the Orders. It can fire homing missiles or gas grenades, but it will not be a charged shot. But there you go. I mean, again, super similar, and even though it's a new weapon manufacturer, it's using mechanics from previous manufacturers. If these effects sound familiar at all, it's because it's mainly taken from the bandit mechanics and the scav mechanics from Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, and also obviously some from Borderlands 3 as well. I kind of wish that they didn't always need to have a bandit or a scab type of manufacturer, in the Borderlands games. I'm personally not the biggest fan of this mechanic, but I'm sure there are some people, considering they keep bringing them back. So again, I feel like I feel like we all know how this one's going to end up. I think there's probably only going to be a few standout weapons from this weapon manufacturer, and then the rest of them aren't going to be too great. But hey, I could be wrong. I don't know. Let me know how you feel about it in the comments. But the Rippers use the Ripper manufacturer, and they are just weapons that can fire as long as you hold the trigger or until the weapon overheats. The final weapon manufacturer that is new in Borderlands 4 is the Daedalus manufacturer, and they're actually really unique. I feel like they probably have like the best new mechanic out of most Borderlands weapons like that they try and introduce to the game for the first time, again, like Bandit or Scav, but they are really unique. They will be known for being able to use any ammo type on any weapon. So, for example, if you have a sniper rifle from this weapon manufacturer, you could switch to use shotgun ammo, shotgun shells, instead of sniper rifle ammo. And, of course, every ammo type has its own benefits. And again, for example, if you're using shotgun ammo, this will add projectiles to your damage because you're using shotgun shells. So I'm sure that will help out with a B shield if you are able to have sniper rifle damage, but you add more pellets to it or something like that. And of course, they will also have an alt firing mode, just like all of the other new manufacturers. It could fire rockets or a really cool overcharge, it says, which it will increase the burst count of the weapon's firing pattern, which is actually pretty unique. Again, I think that there could be some serious damage that comes out of these Daedalus weapons. We just have to see when the game actually comes out. But again, in the footage and all the live streams and everything, it did look really good. They could make some slight changes before the game actually comes out, but as far as we know, again, they will be known for using any ammo type in the entire game for any weapon. So this could be pretty broken. I wonder if you're going to be able to use missiles with them and everything like that, or if it's just like an actual practical ammo type. Like you're not able to use missiles on a sniper rifle because that just wouldn't make sense. But I think that this is a really good addition out of the three new ones that are getting added. I feel like two of them are kind of just mashups of other other weapon manufacturers and different mechanics, and then I feel like this Daedalus one is actually the most unique out of the three. I don't know, let me know what you guys think about it, but that is going to be all three of the new weapon manufacturers that are coming to Borderlands 4. Well, there we have it. We've made it to the end of the video. I personally am super excited to see these new weapon manufacturers actually perform, and I'm excited to see how they handle the whole entire damage over time scaling with Maliwan weapons and just fire damage and electric damage and everything like that. I'm really excited, and I'm also excited to see if there's any new hidden elements that they're adding or anything like that. Maybe Slag's making a return that we haven't seen yet. Who knows? What weapon manufacturer is your favorite? Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's the first Borderlands video that I've ever made. If you guys enjoy it, let me know. I want to start making Borderlands content in the lead up to Borderlands 4 because I do plan on making some videos for Borderlands 4 when it first comes out and maybe live streaming it, but it's coming out in September, so I want to slowly introduce Borderlands to the video content here. That's why I'm dropping it today and not on a normal scheduled video day. But if you want to see more of it, just let me know. Maybe drop a like, drop it in the comments. Again, this is my first Borderlands video. I've played Borderlands forever. I have couple thousand hours on Borderlands 2, and a couple, I'm getting into Borderlands 3 now, again, for the lead up to Borderlands 4, so I have a couple hundred hours on it, but I've enjoyed the Borderlands franchise forever, so if you want to see more, just let me know. I would love to make Borderlands content, and as the great Morning After Kill once said, I appreciate you motherfuckers for watching this motherfucking video, and I will see you out there in Borderlands 4.